What if I told you that twice in history, furious citizens of Prague literally solved their political problems by throwing government officials out of windows, and that one of those tosses didn't just make a mess on the cobblestones, it started one of the deadliest wars in European history. Welcome to the story of the defenestrations of Prague, where rebellion came with a freefall. The word defenestration literally means to throw someone out of a window, and while that sounds like something from a dark comedy in Bohemia, now part of the Czech Republic, it was a political tradition, not once but twice. Our story begins in 1419. Europe was divided by religion, long before Martin Luther and the Reformation. In Prague, reformers known as Hussites, followers of the preacher Jan Hus, demanded that the church reform its corruption and allow communion for the common people. The Catholic elite said no. Tensions exploded, and soon, even the city windows weren't safe. On July 30, 1419, a fiery Hussite priest named Jan Zalivsk led a procession through Prague. They carried religious banners and sang hymns. But when they reached the new town hall, things turned ugly. Inside were Catholic councillors who had imprisoned some of Zalivsk's followers. When the officials refused to release them, the crowd's patience snapped. The mob stormed the building, seized the councillors, and, one by one, threw them out of the third-story windows. Down they went, 7 men plummeting onto the street below, straight onto the pikes of the angry crowd waiting outside. That was the first defenestration of Prague, and it worked for a time. The city fell to the Hussites, and what followed was a brutal conflict known as the Hussite Wars, a war born not from diplomacy but from gravity. Fast forward to centuries. Prague had rebuilt, the wounds of old wars had healed, but history was about to repeat itself. In 1618, Bohemia was still religiously divided. The Protestant nobles felt oppressed by their Catholic Habsburg rulers, who ignored their rights and tried to crush Protestant worship. When Catholic regents arrived in Prague to enforce imperial orders, Protestant leaders called an emergency meeting at Prague Castle. Tensions boiled over, words turned to shouts, and shouts turned to violence. The nobles seized 2 royal governors, Jaroslav Martinic and William Slavada, and their secretary, and, with centuries of tradition behind them, they threw them out the window. They fell from the 3rd floor, roughly 70 feet, but miraculously, they survived. Catholics later claimed they were saved by angels. Protestants said they landed in a pile of manure. Either way, they lived, but survival didn't stop the fallout. That second defenestration in 1618 triggered the 30 Years' War, one of the bloodiest conflicts in European history. What started with a fall from a castle window ended with entire cities burned, millions dead, and Europe forever changed. In a twisted way, the defenestration of Prague was the spark that lit the powder keg of modern Europe. Today, you can still visit the very windows where history took a flying leap. The Czechs even joked that, when diplomacy fails, they always have a backup plan, and it involves a very tall window. So what do you think, were the defenestrations of Prague acts of courage, or chaos disguised as rebellion? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us here on Chrono Clips for more moments that prove history can fall apart in the most unexpected ways.